Now, last week on the programme, we heard from the Bishop of Sydney in Australia, who's the chairman of the Fellowship of Confessing Anglicans, the traditionalist group which was formed as a reaction against the liberal direction of parts of the Anglican Communion, especially the decision to ordain an openly gay bishop in the United States. They've been meeting in London over the past few days, and they're suggesting that the Archbishop of Canterbury should be stripped of some of his leadership responsibilities. Karen Drake reports.
At an independent evangelical church in Westminster, several hundred Anglicans from across the world have gathered for worship and prayer. But not just worship and prayer. The Fellowship of Confessing Anglicans have also gathered to discuss tactics. This week it announced the setting up of an international panel of bishops who would provide support for those Church of England clergy who reject the principle of women bishops but want to remain Anglicans. The principle of alternative episcopal oversight was established when the Church of England ordained women priests, and has since been used by disaffected Anglicans in America and elsewhere. John Ellison was rector of Aldridge in the West Midlands before becoming Bishop of Paraguay. Now retired to Winchester, he chairs the FCA panel of UK bishops.
If people of firm conviction who are Orthodox Anglicans are increasingly marginalised in the Church of England, we want them to know that they are truly Anglican and that they have an honoured place in the Church of England at its best. And somehow we've got to see them through this difficult period until the Church in England comes to its senses again.
Well, I think this is the challenge facing the Church of England with Orthodox groups, whether they are Catholics or evangelicals.
Michael Nazir Ali is the former Bishop of Rochester.
Because they're unhappy with certain developments, that provision will have to be made for them if they are to stay within the Church of England and not, for example, either go off to the ordinariate in one case or to the free churches in the other. I think a provision can be made for such groups with integrity. One of the concerns that they have is how their ministry is to continue.
The proposal has met with weary reaction from Alan Wilson, the Bishop of Buckingham. He says the FCA are playing silly games and that providing alternative oversight is not a way of keeping people together.
It's very sad if people do feel so alienated from everybody else. But I think it's a track we've been down in the Church of England. We tried it over women's ordination, where we had a sort of designer ghetto. And I think after 20 years' experience, we just have to be very honest and say that it didn't work very well for anybody. I think all this stuff is office politics, really, and I don't think the world needs office politics from Anglicans. It needs a bit of gospel.
This week's conference posed another challenge to the old ways of doing things when it proposed that the Archbishop of Canterbury's role as chair of the biannual meeting of national church leaders should be replaced with a leader elected every 5 years by the primates themselves. The FCA believe they have the numbers to ensure only primates subscribing to what they see as Orthodox Christianity would be elected. But one national church leader, Barry Morgan, Archbishop of Wales, rejects the FCA position.
I take great hope from the fact that when the primates of the Anglican Communion met in Dublin last year, the non-Gafcon primates, if I can put it like that, they didn't want the kind of primacy that the Gafcon primates seem to want. That is, primates who kind of lord it over the Anglican Communion in the way that some of them lord it over their provinces. Some of us haven't got that kind of power within our own provinces, nor do we want it. And we certainly don't want the primates to exercise that degree of control over the Anglican Communion.
The FCA's proposal has the potential to create difficulties between the Archbishop of Canterbury, whoever he is, and the person elected to chair the primates meeting. And it's hard to see how English clergy taking direction from overseas bishops eases the tensions in the Anglican Communion. But Bishop Nazir Ali insists the moves are designed to prevent the fracturing of the Church of England and the wider Communion.
Our hope is that it will not splinter, but there has to be a basis for keeping unity. I mean, you can't just have a unity that is formal, that is external, or simply structural and institutional. It must be based on some agreement about common beliefs, and I think, and many others do, that the classical Anglican formularies, as well as the ancient creeds, form such a basis.
The Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, sought to incorporate those formularies and creeds into a covenant which all the churches of the Communion could sign up to. That attempt failed after it was rejected by the Church of England amid accusations it was designed to punish and exclude the more liberal parts of the Church. As a result, Bishop Nazir Ali described the FCA's alternative statement of faith, the Jerusalem Declaration, as the only game in town. But since that explicitly excludes those who don't subscribe to the FCA's version of orthodoxy, that can also command only limited support. The Bishop of St Asaph, Gregory Cameron, devoted many years working on the covenant. What are his thoughts now as he surveys the Anglican scene?
I think we've been on a trajectory for the last decade, which is, are we going to hell together or are we not? And it begins to look like, I think increasingly, that maybe we'll not. There's a lovely line in Dylan Thomas's play Under Milk Wood, where the Reverend Eli Jenkins comes out and he prays, "And I know, Lord, that you will be the first to see our best side, not our worst." And I'm a little bit worried that as Anglicans we're beginning to see the worst in each other rather than the Christ in each other.
Bishop Gregory Cameron ending that report from Gavin Drake.